Hello Scout parents. In this video, I'd like to show you how I made last year's Arrow of Light ceremonial arrows. The online kits you could purchase would like you to believe your arrows will look like this. However, as shown in this Reddit post, this is what your average arrow looks like. I wanted to make arrows that better represent the achievements earned by both longtime scouts and the ones that have been there a shorter duration. While I did like the hand-haft arrowheads, the generic stickers wasn't the look I wanted. I've broken down this guide into 5 steps: awards and placement, color selection, award length, arrow layout markup, and finally wrapping the arrow. Step 1. Awards and placement. You might find it easier to use the planning worksheet as a guide. However, as this sheet only displays some of the more common awards, I went with creating my own, as we had a few scouts that went above and beyond in their journey. You should have received a printout like the following, which breaks down the rank requirements along with electives and awards. You will want to start with the scout that earned the most awards. This will help determine the max size of all awards for your given arrow length. I started by separating the Webelos and Arrow of Light electives. Personally, I'm not quite sure why they put this under one header. There is also a section of awards that they can re-earn for each rank. The worksheet also seems to be based on averages. For the electives, it provides 6 colored stripes per rank, so if a scout has earned more, it's not displayed on their arrow. Additionally, there is no section for electives in the first 3 ranks, and for the awards, only provide 1 award colored stripe, even if the scout earned it multiple years. I went through the printout and ordered them by rank, then electives, then awards. For electives, I grouped into sets of 4. I will explain this more in a moment. That number 7 should have said AOL, as that was the rank they were earned. Step 2. Color selection. On the worksheet, I feel there was a few sections that had bad color decisions. Mostly the Bobcat and Lion ranks, as they didn't match the official badge color. I went to the local craft store and picked up some colors that I felt were the closest to the badge colors, along with a variety to use where needed. I then made my own color chart that included columns like color number, color name, and what it was used for. Under the For column, I listed all items I needed a unique color for. For the electives, I chose to do 1/4 of white per elective, making 1 inch per the 4 I had grouped them in earlier. Then following that up with awards, you're going to want to check all your scout sheets and ensure you have every award earned listed. As I stated previously, I picked the colors closest to the badges for those ranks. For the awards, I'd picked a color I thought represented it well. For instance, I did light green for outdoor activity, silver for shooting, and brown for archery. Step 3. Award length. Now we need to determine how big each award can be, including rank awards, and to ensure that 1/4 inch per elective will work. This must be based off the scout with the most awards and electives, as you don't want more award length than you have arrow. And for those few scouts that we had that had only been with us for a year or two, we did make each section just a tad thicker to help fill in the arrow. On this sheet, I made columns for item number, which I wrote on the initial award sheet earlier, length, which is how big each section will be, a column for color, color number, and also black, which I'm using as a divider in between each color wrapping. I will say using the black dividers did add quite a lot of time to the arrow creation. Feel free to drop that if you want. For the black dividers, I went with an 1/8 inch, and for ranks, I decided on 1 inch of wrapping. This sheet did take 3 tries to make. I realized I didn't need to completely fill out everything to get my length. I really only needed the first column and only some of part 2. This totaled 22 black dividers at an 1/8 inch each, 1 inch on the ranks for a total of 6, then a 1/4 inch of white for each elective, which came out to 8 1/4 for this scout. And the awards, I went with 1/2 inch for each. Since this resulted in a lot of fractions, I had to double and triple check my math a few times. My final result ended up being 22 inches. Step 4. Arrow Layout Markup. Now that we have an overall award length of 22 inches, let's ensure it fits. So, half of 22 being 11, I found the halfway point of the arrow and went out each way 11 inches. Once I knew my award lengths fit, I went back and filled in the rest of my wrapping plan sheet. With the completed plan, I was then able to mark up the arrow, starting with an 1/8 inch of black, then the rank, another 1/8 inch black separator, the amount of white for electives, black separator, and if needed, an award. I did also put numbers above each area for the black, and this greatly helped. I also put a number above each area for the black. That greatly helped me keep track of my place on the arrow and the plan. Alright, step 5, wrapping the arrow. For this, I advise you using some type of very sharp blade. You may want some type of glue, and whatever plan you have created. I went ahead and cut off big chunks of whatever colors I needed. On the arrow, I colored in the black sections for a little bit better visibility where they were. Be sure to take your time here on wrapping, as this determines how clean and tight the final result will be. Start with a loop and point it in the direction you are wrapping. I am going along the arrow to the right, so my loop points to the right. Make sure your loop covers the entire section to be wrapped. Take the long end of the string and pull it over the tail of your loop, then around the arrow, nice and snug and to the right of your first wrap. Again, right because I'm wrapping to the right. And be sure to hold it tight if you need to make any adjustments. Again, once more around the arrow, and by the third loop, it should be secure. If yours is loose, go ahead and start over. These need to be tight to stay in place. I was then able to just rotate the arrow in my hand and just push the next loop up against the previous. Once I had my marking fully covered, I then cut the string, leaving about a 2-inch tail. I used one hand to pinch the wrapping and the other to pass that new tail through the loop. Then while holding that tail down, I pulled our initial tail created, which then pulls the end tail and tucks it under your wrapping, which then locks everything in place. You can then cut the tail of the initial loop off. The tail we locked in the loop, we're going to leave that just a little long, and we will secure that under the next section. So, grabbing the new color, again, make a loop long enough to cover the section to be wrapped, starting up against the last section and wrap over that extra tail. Once you loop over it a few times and it's secure, go ahead and cut off the excess. This is where a good blade comes in handy. It's sharp enough to where you can just press against the thread to cut it. Keep wrapping till your section is covered, and same as before, through the loop to secure it in place. For the longer sections, I ended up sticking some tape on the loops as they like to fall over and try and get tucked under the current wrapping. Round and round and round and round. And once again, secure it. And another black divider. I think you have the idea now. And finally, a completed arrow. I took the super glue and ran a nice small bead along one edge. This ensures nothing's ever going to move, even for years to come. Just a little better looking than that generic kit, I think. I will say, due to the complexity of these arrows, I did need additional help. Here is one wrapped by another parent, along with the plaques we had made. Check out the description for links to the worksheet and another post I found of a person that did a custom wrap job. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching.